So welcome to 26-27 academic year in the College of Nursing and Health Sciences. Some of you have had a little bit of a break. Others of you, I hope, had some rest and time away, and others, I know maybe rest is coming in the future as we come right into the academic year. So I want to just briefly make a few remarks because we have a fantastic speaker with us this afternoon who's really going to be very inspirational and engaging. So I want to give her as much time as possible. But I do want to introduce a few people that are coming into the College of Nursing and Health Sciences and joining us for this fall academic year. And then we have Dr. Hank is here, and we're going to be giving a few of our faculty awards. And then we'll get into the afternoon session with Dr. Melnyk. So I'm just going to start with Ephesians 2:10. As we think about this idea of wellness and we enter into this year, and Dr. Melnyk and I have been speaking and talking about, how do we think of wellness, a wellness culture? What does it mean to be well ourselves? How do we do that with our students? What does that look like for our organization, for the college, for APU as a whole? So I look forward to dialogue and conversation, not only today as we kick off the future, but this whole academic year. So Ephesians 2:10, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. And like we heard this morning, we are all uniquely called here to this time, this place, and the students that are about to be in all of your classrooms and clinical settings and labs. God's prepared this. He knew this in advance, and we are here to be used by Him to do good works. So thank you for what you do and consistently do in all of your various academic areas. I really, truly appreciate it. And we heard some stories of impact this morning. And I have the pleasure of listening to lots of our graduate stories as I'm out and about. So the new faculty that are just starting on Monday, we had a few that I was calling on Friday with their offers, and Saturday, everyone said yes. And so we have 7 new faculty. Would you come to the stage so I can introduce you? We have 6 of them that will be joining in the School of Nursing. And we have 1 new faculty who just got off a plane from Kenya, joining in our physical therapy department. So come on up, you guys. Yeah, and I can't see you, so I do better if I can see your face. I don't know if we can change the lighting, if the house lights could go up so we can kind of see. So we're giving them tote bags, we're giving them polo shirts. Right now you really are officially APU and College of Nursing and Health Science, and as they're getting their computers and their offices, we'll get their name tags and everything. But so let's see. I'll start so Cortez Espinoza is a graduate of our DPT program here at APU. He's been at Kaiser Permanente. His specialty is in ortho. He's been teaching adjunct within the physical therapy department, and he just took a group of PT students to visit Julie Boyd, who was mentioned this morning by one of the speakers, and has spent a couple weeks over there in Kenya and literally just got home. So welcome, Cortez, to your new role. Next, we have Billy Peltier. Billy actually grew up in Australia and went through nursing program in Australia. And like typical nursing, when she comes to the States, we made her repeat it all over again. So she graduated from LA County's program. So she has 2 nursing entry degrees, right? But she's also a graduate of our MSN program in nursing education. She's been teaching adjunct with us, and her expertise is in mental health, and she's got quite the story, and her experience is a lot in the correctional system and working with psychiatric patients in the jails. So we're grateful to have you here in addition to the mental health team. And Sarah Lopez Hidalgo is joining us, and she is an ICU emergency room charge nurse. She led the whole emergency room and all the efforts at Huntington Hospital all through COVID. So we know how experienced and skilled she is, not only in her gift for administration, but care of patients. So she is joining the traditional undergrad team in the School of Nursing and will be teaching, and Katie Hill's replacement, who retired after 40 years of teaching critical care. So we are very excited to have you, Sarah. And Carrie Gonzalez. Carrie Gonzalez is a labor and delivery nurse, many years working she actually has a history of OR nursing and then transitioned into labor and delivery. And so she's going to be teaching in both our traditional undergrad program and the upper division the ELM program, right? I've done a few workloads over the past few weeks, yeah. No, I'm not adding another class. So anyways, we're glad to have you, Carrie, and welcome. Kristen Bradley Selway is a graduate of APU's DNP program, and before that, FNP. She's got a few other degrees along there. She likes to go to school, I can see by her resume. She's an emergency room nurse practitioner, and will be joining our team in the undergrad division and supporting probably traditional undergrad in some of the med-surg courses there. So Kristen, welcome. Yeah, see who's behind me. Can you see? Make sure they can see you. So Kelly Dowlin. Kelly is an ICU nurse, lives up in the Victorville area, works at Desert Valley in the intensive care unit there, and so she's joining the undergrad division team and will be mentored into teaching the critical care courses. She has a long history of being an LVN, and then she went back and got her RN and advanced education. So Kelly, welcome to the team. And last but not least is Brian. And Brian Marioni is a pediatric nurse, has worked at Loma Linda Children's, and currently is working at Children's Hospital Orange County. And he's done some clinical teaching for us at APU and will be joining the undergrad division with a specialty in pediatrics. So we've got a great group. And this is the group that will mentor you. So please get to know them, enfold them into your department meetings and all the work that you're doing as they engage in their first, you all remember your first year of a faculty member, right? So you will feel supported, I promise. Thank you. Thank you. So now I'd like to call up Dr. Anita Hank to present some faculty awards.
Well, thank you, Dr. Poza. APU has a rich tradition of honoring faculty for unique contributions to the life of the university, with 7 faculty awards given annually. Deans of each school provide nominations, which are then carefully reviewed by the academic cabinet, which then votes for the recipients of each of the annual awards. There is a requirement for each of the awards that no one can receive it more than once across their career. This year, with the decision to shorten the university kickoff to a morning event, did we like that? Okay. Then that means that we're having schools and colleges hold their individual events on the same afternoon, and so the academic cabinet asked that the faculty awards be given at the individual school and college gatherings. So you're the first of 4 trips I'm making today to give these out. So anyhow, in an upcoming Provost newsletter, we'll announce the recipients of all 7 awards. But today I'm delighted that 3 of the 7 university faculty awards are to College of Nursing and Health Science faculty. So I'll tell you a little bit about the award. I'll name the person who needs to start walking up here then, while I read the citation, and then Dr. Poza and I will present the award to you. So first is the Undergraduate Teaching Excellence Award. For this award, the recipient shall be a full-time faculty member on an extended contract who has demonstrated excellence in the classroom and who has made a positive impact on student learning in his or her academic unit. Candidates may be selected on the basis of their IDEA scores, innovative teaching strategies, unique course design, and/or effective mentoring of other faculty at the university. Today, I'm delighted to announce that Dr. Jody Wilkinson, come on down, is the recipient of the 2026 Undergraduate Teaching Excellence Award. Here's the nomination. Dr. Wilkinson serves as the department chair for the kinesiology area, overseeing the undergraduate and graduate programs. His teaching effectiveness is demonstrated in both the classroom and lab settings. His teaching effectiveness scores are consistently very high, with pages and pages of qualitative comments describing his impact. The undergraduate students call him Dr. J, and it's evident that he knows each student by name and their story. Jody invests in their personal and spiritual development as he leads curriculum and department activities intended to foster student growth and flourishing. Most recently, Dr. Wilkinson has been involved in the design and development of the new general education wellness course and is currently overseeing all 14 sections of this course. He was instrumental in training the faculty who teach the course, as well as bringing significant contributions from his expertise and joining with other faculty experience in building the course and its outcomes. Dr. Wilkinson, for your well-recognized success in teaching undergraduate students, your investment in relevant curricular design, and your deep engagement in their learning inside and outside the classroom, we thank you and honor you today with the 2026 Undergraduate Teaching Excellence Award. Next, we'll honor the recipient of the Rose Liegler Graduate Scholarly Achievement. At the university, there are 2 awards for scholarly achievement. One is given to those who primarily teach graduate courses, and the other is to someone who primarily teaches undergraduate courses, and these faculty members must be on an extended contract. Awardees are those who demonstrate that they value and promote scholarship through discovery, integration, or application, and they actively support dissemination of that work through presentations and publications. The individuals selected for these awards are those who recognize the linkages between active scholarship, teaching, student learning, and service. And I would note that in 2007, the Graduate Scholarly Achievement Award was renamed to be the Rose Liegler Graduate Scholarly Achievement Award. And for those in the group that know, Rose Liegler was a former dean of the School of Nursing, too. Today, I'm delighted to announce that Dr. Annette Karim is the recipient of the 2026 Rose Liegler Graduate Scholarly Achievement Award. Come on down. Here's the winning nomination. Dr. Karim is a physical therapist specializing in the area of dance therapy and interventions for injuries from various types of dance. Prior to her academic career, she was a professional ballet dancer with the Houston Ballet. A dual doctor with a DPT and PhD, she teaches in the physical therapy department, where she's currently the department chair. Dr. Karim is well respected across the profession and serves on the National Board for the Association of Physical Therapists. She holds fellowship status in the Orthopedic Physical Therapy Association and represents APU well on a national level. As a researcher, Dr. Karim focuses on answering questions developed in dialogue with the dance community. She investigates movement patterns and motor control among dancers with the goal of performance improvement and occupational sustainability. She consistently publishes studies involving health-related quality of life and functional change in a wide range of ages and physical conditions. She publishes and presents her research findings annually in high-impact journals and conferences. Dr. Karim is actively involved in mentoring doctoral students, enjoys a good day with statistical analysis, and disseminating research findings. Dr. Karim, for your recognized accomplishments in the field of physical therapy, and more specifically, your contributions to the body of research shaping the field, we congratulate you, thank you, and honor you today with the 2026 Rose Ligler Graduate Scholarly Achievement Award. Congratulations. And last but not least, the third award this afternoon to a faculty member from the College of Nursing and Health Sciences is the Community Engagement Faculty Award. This award recognizes a full-time faculty member who has clearly integrated APU's four cornerstones: Christ, scholarship, community, and service, in ways that significantly contribute to the reciprocal partnership between APU and the public and private sectors. Candidates may be selected on the basis of community-engaged scholarship, community-based research, academic service learning, work that addresses issues of social justice, advancement of the university's engagement in civic and democratic values, or efforts that inspire greater involvement in community engagement and service to others. Today, I'm delighted to announce that Dr. Marissa Brash is the recipient of the 2026 Community Engagement Faculty Award. Here's her nomination. Dr. Brash is passionate about public health and the issues that face our populations. She leads the APU Masters in Public Health program, which under her leadership recently received its first 6-year national accreditation. Dr. Brash is well connected in the public health community and has created several academic practice partnerships to foster internships for public health students. In addition, she connected with the Randall Lewis Scholar Program and has mentored several MPH students in a year-long health policy opportunity with this organization. She's an active member and contributor to the work of the APU Critical Incident Response Team and also engaged with the APU Community Garden Project. On weekends, you will often find her at a health fair or volunteering in the community with the Master of Public Health students, or advocating for change to benefit the health of our populations. Dr. Brash, for your deep engagement in representing your discipline, program, and APU in the broader community, through your active engagement on behalf of and with your students in both public and private sectors, we thank you and honor you today with the 2026 Community Engagement Faculty Award. Congratulations. So thank you for letting me interrupt today. It's good to see you, and I'm off to the next school or college. See you in a bit.
Thanks for being with us, Dr. Hank. And congratulations again. Let's give them another round of applause for our 3 winners. Hopefully they were surprised. Bernadette Melnyk, those of us that know her, she has graciously allowed us to call her Bern, and so many of us in the nursing community know Bern. Bern is an inspirational speaker. She's authored over 600 publications and 11 books. She's an expert in evidence-based practice, mental health, population health, and well-being. Her research has been in intervention research and also in organizational cultural change. I'll let her probably give some of her CEOs, and because she has retired out of her dean's role to do, and she'll probably tell us the story, what she prefers to do, right? Preferment, they a lot of times will call retirement. But previously, she served as the dean of the College of Nursing and Health Sciences, Arizona State University, and then was recruited to The Ohio State University to not only be the dean in the College of Nursing, but to serve as the chief wellness officer for the university and the healthcare system, which includes all the medical centers and all of the outpatient clinics. And so I hope she tells us some of those stories of what that was like to create a wellness culture in a large academic medical center. She's been elected a fellow in several organizations. She holds fellow status in the American Academy of Nursing, the National Academy of Medicine, National Academies of Practice, and the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. She's won the Edge Runner Award 3 times, and she's the founder of the Helene Fold Health Trust National Institute for Evidence-Based Practice in Nursing and Healthcare. It is truly an honor to have her with us to speak about creating a wellness culture, not only for ourselves, our students, and for our organization. Welcome, Dr. Melnyk.
I am so excited to be back at your fabulous university and college. How many of you are excited about getting a little healthier and building a stronger wellness culture here? Yes? Even if you are not excited, I ask you to act excited for me, please. But seriously, I have been so blessed to travel the country and globe, not only doing workshops and keynotes on evidence-based practice, but also well-being and how to create great cultures of wellness where faculty, staff, and students can really thrive. So today's workshop is going to first describe why do we need workshops on this particular topic. What is the state of well-being in faculty, in staff, and in students? The second part of the workshop is going to focus on you. You are going to face your true story today and rewrite a new one. That is a very reflective and emotional journey. But most people don't change unless they go through that process. We are living in a country right now where 60% of people have a chronic disease. Think about that. 60%. But 80% of chronic disease is totally preventable with just a few healthy lifestyle behaviors. But again, it's sad. Most people don't change unless crisis happens or their emotions get raised. So I hope today to help you walk through that true story and new story. So you leave this workshop with commitment and determination to take a little bit better self-care and to help your colleagues and your students to do the same. The last thing we'll talk about today is how to create that wellness culture where everybody can thrive. I am going to tell you a little bit of my story, but the best job I ever had in my entire career was being the first chief wellness officer in the country at Ohio State. I'm going to share with you from the best evidence because I have a philosophy. In God we trust, but everybody else better bring data to the table. And people who know me know that I have functioned like that my entire career. I want to disclose my conflicts. I am editor of 11 books, which keeps me really busy. I'm revising 3 of them right now. And I own 2 companies that disseminate my evidence-based cognitive behavioral skills building programs. But I want to start today by giving each and every one of you a big dose of vitamin G for gratitude. Gratitude is one of the simplest evidence-based practices that if we get up every morning and we take a dose of vitamin G, then we come to work and we give a dose of vitamin G to somebody else, we are going to experience all of these fabulous evidence-based outcomes. So thank you for all you do here at Azusa Pacific. Now, I had this conversation with the provost's assistant right before we started. She said, "We sit way too much here. Sitting is the new smoking. Seriously, how many of you sit on average 3 hours a day?" Can I see your hands? It's hard, the light shine. The majority of you, you're being transparent. You're admitting that. Do you know research shows if we sit even 3 hours a day, we increase our cardiac risk by 30%. If we sit 5 a day, and I'm sure many of you do that as faculty or as staff, that is comparable to smoking 1.25 packs of cigarettes a day. Now, some of you look shocked when I share that evidence, but why didn't you all stand up? It's culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But not only does sitting have the adverse outcomes on your physical health, your mental health, but it's the biggest zapper of the energy. If you want more energy throughout your day, you got to move more and sit less. And I'm going to give you some ideas about how to structure your days so you can do that. if we can also learn to stay more mindful in the present moment, we're going to have less guilt and we're going to worry less. Worry about the future, guilt about the past are the two most wasted emotions. So I'm going to help you get mindful and to move, because a lot of people sit through workshops like this and your brains look like the person on the left. You are thinking about everything you got to do at work, what you're going to make for dinner tonight, whatever it is. But today, I want your mind to be totally fixed on what I'm teaching and what you're doing to participate in this workshop. So to help you get more mindful and moving, if you can, I'd like you to stand up. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do 5 tasks in this order. The first, I want you to clap for 8 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to repeat that. The second task, I'm going to ask you to scissor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to repeat that. The third task, I'm going to ask you to hammer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to repeat that. Number 4, are you with me? We're going to move 4 steps to the right, crossing over. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back. 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to repeat that. The 5th task, we're going to go 4 steps to the right, clap on the 4th step. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Everybody with me? Now we're going to do it to music. Can you please play the music?
Michelle fight for that white gold. This one for them hood girls, them good girls, straight masterpieces. Styling, wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on with Saint Laurent. Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. I'm too hot. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. I'm too hot. Say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot. And my band bought that money. Break it down. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. Don't believe me, just watch. 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 Hey, 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 oh! Stop. Wait a minute. Fill my cup, put some nigga in it. Take a sip, sign the check. Julio, get the stretch. Right to heart.
Great job. job, everybody.
If we show up, we gon' show out. Smoother than a fresh drop. Skipping.
Awesome. You know what? You all were smiling. You were enjoying it. There is no sin to having fun at work and with our students. Think about building in some of these mindful and movement exercises into your classrooms and what you do with your students. I will tell you, they'll be more focused. They'll enjoy their learning more. So I'm going to make a case now for your personal and organizational well-being. It all starts with you. That's why my second presentation today is going to all be about you. I'm going to first, though, tell you a little bit of my story. And I tell my story to give people hope, to inspire people, to let you know if you can dream something, you can do it. And you stay negative or stay deaf to the negative. Because there's a lot of negativity and a lot of people that are going to tell you that dream is crazy. You'll never be able to accomplish it. But again, you got to stay deaf to the negative. I grew up in that town, small little coal mining town an hour south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right on the West Virginia border. My dad was a coal miner. We lived in half of a little company house. We struggled financially, but I was born with rose-colored glasses on, and I still can make lemonade out of lemons yet today. But my entire world crashed on me when I was 15, home alone with my mother when she sneezed, stroked out, and died right in front of me. You can imagine how many of you are parents in the room. You can imagine how traumatic that would be. I suffered from terrible post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. For 5 months, I didn't sleep through the night. I had nightmares. I'd wake up with cold sweats. Every time somebody sneezed, I jumped because I thought, are they going to stroke out too? Well, after 5 months, I was taken to my family physician. And my cousin said, please do something to help Bern. What do you think that provider did that so many still do, first line in 2026? Exactly. Got out the prescription pad, wrote a script for Valium, said, give Bern one of these every night, she'll sleep, and she'll be just fine. I remember taking a Valium that night. I slept for the first time in months, But I woke up the next morning and I didn't feel like myself. I felt groggy. And I said, I don't want to take these anymore. I just got to gut it up and cope. But in the next 4 years, not only did my mother stroke out in front of me that morning, but I lost a cousin who was like a brother after a car accident. The year after that, I lost the only grandparent I ever knew and loved. And when I was 19, my dad had his heart attack. That's a lot of aces for a teenager. But you know the story. What doesn't break us does make us stronger and maybe gives us purpose and passion of what to do with our lives. And as a result of what happened to me during those teenage years, I became so passionate about becoming a nurse, then a pediatric nurse practitioner, then a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and going on and get my PhD so I could develop my evidence-based cognitive behavior therapy-based programs that can be delivered by non-psychiatric providers. My co-programs now are being delivered in all 50 states in primary care with reimbursement. They also are being delivered as prevention in K-12 schools, universities, and in healthcare systems. So, again, all of you have had some type of adverse event, some type of really hard struggle in your life. You can look back at it, though, and find the silver linings. So how'd I get to Buckeye Nation? Here's what happened. I was dean of the College of Nursing and Health Innovation at Arizona State. I had grown a really large college, about 4,400 students. I had nursing, health sciences, PT, exercise science, so I understand what it's like to lead an interprofessional college. I loved it. But one day, I got a call from the chair of the search committee for the next dean at Ohio State. And Carol said to me, Bern Melnyk, we have watched how you have exploded that college in Arizona. We want you to come to Buckeye Nation and do the same thing for us. I said, Carol, thank you. I'm so humbled you've thought of me, but I have no intentions of leaving sunny Arizona and moving to cloudy Columbus, Ohio. But, there's always a but, I had been studying corporate wellness for 3 years. I was flummoxed at the fact big companies, corporations were hiring chief wellness officers because they really understood that if our people aren't healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, they're not going to be productive. We're going to have more presenteeism, more absenteeism, more healthcare claims that are going to cost us a lot of money. So I was really intrigued by this concept of a chief wellness officer, and I went to search what universities had CWOs. Guess how many I found? What would be your thought? 0. So that was my next dream. I want to go to a big public university that has a big academic medical center and be the first chief wellness officer at an academic institution in the country. So I just pitched that dream. See, a lot of us have dreams, but then we don't pitch them, or we don't take risk to achieve them. So I pitched that dream to Carol that day. Carol, I'm not interested in making a lateral move, but if Ohio State would consider appointing me in a joint leadership position, not only as dean, but also as chief wellness officer for the entire university, I might talk to you guys. Now, I'm not kidding you. The next day, my assistant comes in my office and says, Bern, the president of Ohio State is on the phone. He wants to talk to you. Please don't leave us. I get on the phone. Here's how the conversation goes. That former president I love to this day, E. Gordon Gee, he's famous. He says this, and this is exactly what he said. Bern Melnyk, this is E. Gordon Gee, the president of the Ohio State University. What the Sam Hill, because that's how he talks, he spent a lot of his time in West Virginia, what the Sam Hill is a chief wellness officer, and what would you do, value add, to what we are already doing for the health and well-being of our faculty, staff, and students. That's how I got to Ohio State. Do you know how many CWOs currently exist in the United States at universities and medical centers and hospitals? 100. 100. And I predict in the next 10 years, that's going to double because of the current state, what is happening throughout the country with the health and well-being of faculty, staff, and students. Now, what makes me sad about the 100 number, they are all physicians except for 2. 2. How the Sam Hill did nursing and the other health sciences let medicine get ahead of us in wellness and prevention. So if any of you ever desire, you want to become a CWO, reach out to me, because I counsel, I advise a lot of people who are in those roles. So wellness is an optimal state of living well. Even people at the end of life should be able to achieve their optimal state of well-being. Wellness and self-care are not niceties. I had a great conversation with somebody before the workshop started, and she said, I'm finally doing a little bit better on self-care. How can our students learn about self-care if we as faculty are not walking the talk? All of you do such a great job caring for everybody else. But what kind of job are you doing caring for yourself? We can't take good care of other people. We can't be great faculty unless we take good self-care. Self-care is not selfish. When we get on a plane and the oxygen masks drop, we are told, put them on yourself first before you put them on your children or significant others around you, because we cannot keep pouring from an empty cup. As I mentioned, 6 out of 10 people with a chronic disease in the United States, but 80% of chronic disease is totally preventable. But you know what's sad? Our country only invests about 3% of our healthcare spending in wellness and prevention. We are a sick care, crisis care focused healthcare system. I'm not saying we shouldn't be great at sick and crisis care. I'm not saying that at all. We will always need great sick and crisis care. But unless we shift this paradigm to one more of wellness and prevention, we're going to continue to see these high rates of chronic disease. What are the 3 leading causes of death? Number 1, cardiovascular disease. Number 2, cancer. Number 3, preventable medical errors made by well-meaning clinicians who are utterly burnt out or not following the best evidence-based practices. Can you imagine 250,000 to 400,000 people die in hospitals every year from preventable medical errors? And it sounds cynical, but if you want to up your odds of dying today, get yourself admitted to a hospital. We almost lost our youngest daughter, Kaylin, when she was 10 in Australia due to non-evidence-based health care. Anymore, I am telling you, if you're admitted to a hospital or a loved one is, they've got to have a strong person at the bedside to advocate and to monitor. Because we are living in an era where 40 to 60% of caring, well-meaning clinicians are totally burnt out. And I've done a lot of national studies in this area. Burnout is not only unhealthy for our professions, but people who are burnt out can't think well. They can't make good judgments, clinical decisions, and medical errors are strongly correlated with burnout. We've got to help our students first, because if we don't give them skills to learn to deal with burnout, depression, stress, and anxiety, they're going to end up 40 to 60% burnt out, like so many throughout the United States today. However, if we put all causes of death and disease together, our behaviors are the #1 killer in America. What we do or we don't do every single day. We're at a state now, we have a mental health pandemic in the United States. We had this problem before the pandemic. It soared during the pandemic. People thought it would come back down sharply after the pandemic. It has not. My friend and colleague, the U.S. Surgeon General at the time, Vivek Murthy, who chairs a National Academy of Medicine Action Collaborative that I serve on, put out this state of mental health about how abysmal it is, how many adults are suffering, how many children and teens are suffering with depression. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in 10 to 34-year-olds. That's the age of the students that you deal with all the time. We can't wait till crisis. We've got to move more into prevention and early intervention. There's also an energy and an inertia crisis across the country. I just developed with 2 Penn State faculty a new inertia valid and reliable instrument, because people are suffering with a lack of motivation, with fatigue. They're going to work, they're physically present, but they're just checking off the tasks. We have got to do something more about this current situation. Now, when you look at Maslow, it is so true. You've got to start by laying a good physical and mental health foundation. Our bodies need that, but we become extraordinary at the top with our dreams, our purpose, and our passion. Now, this is a hard thing to sometimes hear. But if you don't wake up on a Monday morning and jump out of bed and say, I'm so excited that I get to go to this university and do the job that I do. If you're not excited to get out of bed every day and do your job, I would say you've lost a dream. You've lost purpose. You've lost passion. So I'm going to ask you this several times today. If I could be your fairy god person standing before you today, what are you going to do in 3, 5, or 10 years if you absolutely know you cannot fail? Do you know, I have asked that question off of every faculty candidate that I interviewed as the dean and vice president over 20 years of my career. How many people do you think could snap off an answer to me? What would be your guess? Renee, what would be yours? 10%. You're close. Anybody else? You think people can just snap that answer off? It's very sad. I would say 5%. And the ones who did, when I asked what their dream was, what do you think they told me? Any ideas on that? Money, grant funding. I want to get my first NIH grant. And the other, I want to get promoted and tenured. And I would look at these faculty and say, you know what, those are good goals. But what's your dream? Stretch bigger. Stretch your dreaming bigger. What impact do you want to make in the world? And I was so touched by one of the faculty in this room who is about to publish her new book. And she came up to me, and in her foreword to the book, she wrote, in 2018, I heard Dr. Melnyk ask this question or state, you got to dream it first, and then you got to take risks. A lot of you have dreams, but then you don't follow up and take risks because maybe you're afraid. What are people going to say? What are they going to think? Most people, when they get to the end of their lives, they don't regret usually what they did. They regret what they didn't do. So you're going to have to write on paper before you leave here today the answer to that question. What are you going to do in the next 3, 5, 10 years if you absolutely cannot fail? And the secret is writing it down, placing it where you can see it every single day. There is research that shows when people write their dreams down and they look at that every day, they're much more likely to accomplish those dreams. And then please help me with this paradigm shift from sick care to well care and prevention. This is my formula for how healthcare systems are going to meet the quintuple aim in healthcare. The secret sauce is evidence-based practice being in the DNA of every practicing clinician. I have been banging the evidence-based practice drum since the late 1990s. It was my dream by 2020, EBP would be in the DNA of every practicing clinician in the country. Sadly, our national studies show only about 30% of clinicians can meet the evidence-based practice competencies. Only 30% of clinicians have this in their DNA. If I'm blessed to live to be 100, I will still be traveling the country and the globe, doing keynotes and workshops on evidence-based practice. We aren't there yet. So I urge all of you, if you truly do not understand and know EBP like the back of your hands, and you can't teach it, you got to get the skills, truly. In nursing, and Renee understands this well, even for Doctor of Nursing practice programs, there are so many throughout the country that are still pushing DNPs to do research for their capstones, not evidence-based implementation projects or evidence-based QI projects. So we got a lot of urgent work that we should be doing. And to get back to that secret sauce, if you have clinicians that know EBP, but they're severely burnt out and they're stressed, they're not going to be able to use those skills. So if you're tending only to one of these key ingredients, quintuple aims are not going to happen throughout the United States. Adverse events and medical errors cost our country between $20 to $40 billion annually. That's a heck of a lot of money. Think of what we could be doing if these errors were not happening. So in 2017, the National Academy of Medicine came out and said, we have a crisis in this country. Burnout, depression, suicide in physicians, nurses, the healthcare workforce. We're going to do something about this. So they launched the Action Collaborative for Clinician Well-Being and Resilience. I was blessed to be asked to join 60 leaders across the country to actively work on what we're going to do about this situation. If you have not been to our website, please go there, peruse it. We have so many fabulous tools, resources to help places with this particular issue to make it better. I still coach other health systems throughout the country as part of that Action Collaborative. Because again, we got to treat this as an urgent public health crisis because we spend $4.6 billion on burnout annually, every year in this country. But most importantly, it hurts our professional folks. It hurts our patients because medical errors are happening by caring people that are burnt out. And they're burnt out in large part due to system problems that CEOs throughout the country and chief nurses need to fix. poor staffing, problems with the electronic medical record, poor interprofessional team functioning. So a couple years ago, we put out this national plan for healthcare workforce well-being. How many of you have downloaded this and read it? Truthfully, how many people in this room? I see like 1 or 2 hands. That's it. I urge you, do more than just download this report. These are 7 recommendations that we put out. As a college, I would encourage you to say, which 1 or 2 this year are we going to focus on in this college? But again, it takes so long to get evidence-based recommendations, evidence-based guidelines in practice. We can't wait 15 more years to get this plan implemented. Now, these are beautiful people who killed themselves during the COVID-19 pandemic. You may have seen on national news, Dr. Lorna Breen was an emergency room physician in New York City. She got so overwhelmed with the number of COVID patients coming into that ED who were dying. She got into mental distress, had no history of mental health problems, admitted herself to a psychiatric unit for help, was hospitalized. A few days after she was discharged, she killed herself. Why? Because she was afraid she was going to lose her license over the fact that she was hospitalized and received treatment for a mental illness. Do you know how many states across this country still ask inappropriate mental health questions on licensure applications as well as hospital credentialing applications? By doing that, we prevent people who need help from getting help. I am friends and colleagues with Corey Feist, her brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law and sister started the Lorna Breen Heroes Foundation. Corey is actively working today to get states to withdraw these inappropriate mental health questions from licensure applications. Corey and my research team did an audit. It took us 18 months to get applications from state boards of nursing to analyze them for inappropriate mental health questions. Look what we found. Sadly, only 13 states, yay for California, that weren't asking those questions. Here's what's really sad. We've lost ground. Now, 4 more states added back inappropriate mental health questions. So we have a lot of work to do around this issue. What do we know from the latest studies in the field? We know burnout currently affects 40 to 60% of our healthcare workforce. We know burnout. My studies have shown this over and over again. It is associated with depression, which is the leading predictor of suicide. Depression and suicide amongst nurses, but the whole healthcare workforce is higher than the general population. And for nursing, my national studies have shown 12-hour shifts are correlated with depression, anxiety, and even suicidal ideation. Chief nurses gasp when I say to them, you got to eliminate your 12-hour shifts. They are hurting our population. They are hurting. And as student nurses, we often put them in situations where they have to work 12-hour shifts as well. We really have got to stop the 12-hour shifts. The majority of healthcare professionals, including faculty, do not meet evidence-based recommendations for physical activity, healthy eating, sleep, alcohol use, and stress reduction. So here's the state of faculty and staff mental health. Does your university participate in the Healthy Minds study? Do you know? Do you know? Okay. This Healthy Minds study every 2 years gets college students, but now they started getting faculty and staff data on mental health and well-being. So this is data that's pretty much so hot off the press. 9,000 faculty and staff from 22 colleges and universities. The scales they administer are valid and reliable. 16% met the criteria on the PHQ-9 for depression. Another 17% met the criteria for anxiety. Almost a third reported feeling burned out to a high or very high degree. 81% reported mental health in students is significantly worse than when they first started teaching. And almost 1 out of 2 reported having conversations with their students about mental health. About half of these faculty and staff said, we don't think we're confident about recognizing a student who is in distress. My research team conducted a study with the Big 10 institutions in 2023. Almost 50% of 417 interprofessional health sciences faculty struggled with burnout. Here's another really sad statistic. 53% of faculty felt their college was not at all to only somewhat supportive of their personal wellness. Mattering to an organization matters. So I'm going to ask you this question to reflect on. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you believe you matter to this university? On a scale of 0, meaning not at all, to 10, extremely. I will tell you, those of you who answered 8 to 10, you really believe you matter to this university. I bet you're suffering much less from stress and burnout. If you don't think you matter to this university, I would ask you, why don't you think you matter? Because mattering is such a key variable to burnout, depression, and anxiety. The other big variable is perception of wellness culture. All of my national studies have also shown when people perceive they work in a culture that supports their well-being, their outcomes are so much better. And I think because you have a dean here that brought me here today to do this workshop says a lot about the type of culture that is wanted to be created. Now, as far as nursing faculty go, you might find it interesting that PhD-prepared faculty in this national study had a higher rate of depression than DNP faculty. We rationalize that is because your PhD faculty are usually in high-pressure tenured positions or tenure-track positions where grant funding as well as scholarship is really required. How many of you are working parents right now? You have younger kids at home. You are particularly subject to burnout. So during the pandemic, one of my faculty came into my office and said, "Bern, I'm really burnt out. Not on the job, but I'm burnt out from parenting my 4 kids." I said, "Kate, what do you want to do about that?" She said, "Bern, I want to create a valid and reliable parent burnout scale. Can you help me with that?" I said, "Kate, I already know of 2 that are already published, but is there any on working parent burnout?" We looked, couldn't find a scale to tap that construct, so we developed one. We did a study. 2/3 of the parents in our study were burnt out. I went to my director of marketing and communication. I said, "Phil, I think this is a hot national story. Would you please contact Good Morning America, the Today Show, and see if they'd be interested in covering this story?" The Today Show answered right away. "We want that story as an exclusive." They sent a camera team of 6 to interview us, to film us. We ended up getting on the Today Show. After 6 hours of filming, we got a 6-minute story. That's it. But the beauty of that is they put our scale up on their website. Hundreds of thousands of parents took our scale. They downloaded our evidence-based recommendations. And now, Kate and I have a lay book coming out on October 6th called Working Parent Burnout: 8 Strategies to Thrive, Not Just Survive. So we're really excited, but again, we often don't think of the media as a venue to communicate our work. We've got to get our work out there more and visible in the public eye. So think about the next time you publish a study. Also, maybe do a press release. Talk to your VP of marketing about getting this out to the news. That is super important to highlight the good work that you are doing. So these are the most common causes of burnout in faculty. Overload. Too many bureaucratic tasks and meetings. So here's what I would recommend, what I did at Ohio State. I did a get rid of stupid stuff survey. Now think about that. In the National Academy of Medicine, that's what we're advising CEOs of medical centers. Get rid of stupid bureaucratic stuff. Now, at the college level, maybe you can't control what upper administration is requiring to be done. But in your college, are there bureaucratic things that you all are doing, or process things that maybe you don't have to be doing? Also, how many meetings do you have on a weekly basis that you could potentially shorten or get rid of? How many of you jump out of your desk to go to a typical meeting? How many of you? Does anybody in here love meetings? Like you can't wait to get to them. But again, if you have control of meetings, instead of 60 minutes, cut them down to 50. Then you'd have 10 minutes as a recovery break to get up and move, take a walk down the hall, do some jumping jacks, dance to music. Just get moving more and sitting less. Lack of appreciation. People need vitamin G. People need to know that they matter. Unhealthy cultures, students, mental health issues. As Chief Wellness Officer for Ohio State, I started a wellness onboarding program for all of our 7 health sciences colleges. In the first 2 weeks, we administered a wellness scale, or a battery of scales. The PHQ-9 for depression, GAD-7 for anxiety, PSS for stress, burnout, all of that. Entering students to Ohio State in the 7 health sciences colleges had a depression and or anxiety rate of 30 to 40%. That's before they even got into the semester. This is the profile of the students that are coming to us these days. But if you don't assess what the current state is. And by the way, 15% were suicidal. If we would not have administered that PHQ-9 and found that out, we would have had a serious suicide rate. But we were lucky to administer those scales and get help to the students who really needed help. Consequences of burnout. So, say you have 30% of your people that are struggling with burnout. They're going to be present, they're going to show up, but they're not really going to be really enthused and engaged in what they're doing. They may miss more work. You might have a high turnover rate. They'll be less productive. Maybe the quality of work isn't as good. But here's the bottom line, too. If they're burned out, depressed, or highly stressed, by the emotional contagion hypothesis, the students are going to feel it too. And I'm sure most of you know these staggering statistics. This is the latest data. The current year's data is being collected right now from this National Healthy Mind Study. But this is the latest data. 84,000 students from 135 colleges and universities. 37% screened positive on the PHQ-9 for moderate to severe depression. 32% struggling with anxiety. The good news is suicidal ideation dropped a bit from 2022, but still 11% of those students said, I'm thinking about suicide. Level of flourishing dropped. 37 received counseling in the past year. 30% were taking medication for their mental health issues. Among students with depression or anxiety, only 60% received some type of treatment. And disparities, every single national study show disparities are super prevalent. 1 in 2 young adults admits to feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Now, you didn't come here to this workshop today to get depressed, but I really wanted you to see this is an urgent situation. And I want you to think about what you are doing for your students and in your classrooms. These are the causes of burnout. Learning environment, the way we grade things. I would say to my faculty would say, oh, we have so many writing assignments. I said, who determines that? You're teaching these courses. You could decide to scale back on the number of assignments that you are giving. Like, do you have evidence to support you need 5 writing assignments instead of 3? But think about that. Like, are you overkill on what you are requiring for your students? Have you seen the most recent national news about that school up north from me? We don't even say the letter M in Ohio. We say Michigan. But Michigan's been on national news. Because have you seen, they're not going to give grades to half of their freshmen during their freshman year to decrease the stress that they know students are under about their letter grades. So they're piloting that, but it's made national news attention. So that's with faculty, staff, and students. But I also want to make a business case too. We know the outcomes are terrible. But why are presidents of universities, CEOs of medical centers and hospitals, why are they investing in the well-being of their people? Because not only will it improve the outcomes we talked about, but there's a positive return on investment for doing that. For every dollar invested in wellness at Ohio State, I had a positive return between $2 and $3.65. I covered our wellness initiatives by creating this wonderful culture of well-being, but it saved our university millions of dollars. So then when I would say, I need to add 2 more people to my team, I said, see, we can afford it because this year I saved the university millions of dollars. But that's the kind of evidence we need to keep producing. And a lot of places don't do return on investment calculations. At Ohio State, we moved beyond just dollars to value of investment, which is morale, patient satisfaction. And every year I did a survey of our 44,000 faculty and staff, our 66,000 students, so that I could show our president and VP for finance our data, including ROI. So we used to joke that it took 17 years to translate findings from research into real-world clinical settings to improve outcomes. But in 2021, Kahn and colleagues did another study, and they said, we're so excited because now it only takes 15 years instead of 17. Well, think about that. At that rate, we decrease the research practice time gap by 2 years. At that rate, it's only going to take another 150 years before research is produced and everybody says, bam, we're going to implement that now in practice. The gap between what we know and what we do is lethal. We also have to de-implement what we're doing that is non-evidence-based. So again, help me get EBP skills in all of your students. We need it desperately. My research team did a systematic review. What helps nurses and physicians? Their mental health, their well-being, their physical health, their healthy lifestyle behaviors. So we did this rigorous systematic review. These 6 things work. Mindfulness works. Do you teach your students mindfulness? See, cognitive behavior skills building works. Do your students get that? Gratitude works. In fact, I was so excited one year, I did rounds at one of our 7 hospitals. Every unit in that hospital had a vitamin G board like that people would come in the morning and they'd write who or what they were grateful for that day. Visual triggers work. So you put them up by elevators and say, people read. Do you know you can burn more calories by walking the steps instead of taking the elevator? And deep breathing works, but we don't use it regularly. So I'm going to finish this talk by saying, in the third presentation, I'm going to give you strategies to improve culture. You've got to do 3 things if you really want to bend the curve to improve population health and well-being. You got to fix system issues that are broken, that we know cause burnout. You got to get rid of stupid stuff when you can. Second, you got to take evidence-based interventions that we know work, and you got to scale them. You got to get them in your college and the university. And lastly, you got to build a culture that makes healthy behaviors the norm in the system. The U.S. Surgeon General put out this fabulous report on workplace mental health. He said these are the 5 things people need: protection from harm, connection. Loneliness is a big problem today. Work-life harmony, mattering at work, and people need opportunities for growth. So I will finish the third presentation with, again, key evidence-based strategies. So you sat, but I'm really excited. Many of you stood through the presentation. I'm going to get you up again. We're going to do another movement exercise. So everybody, please stand. This one's going to be simpler than the first one we did. All I'm going to ask you to do, 4 steps to the right, clap, 4 to the left, clap, back, 4, clap, front, clap. So right, left, back, front. Right, left, back, front. Could you play the music?
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Ready?
Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm
10-minute break.
Bring me down, your love is too high.
Okay, we are going to get started, but I am recognizing there are people still waiting in line for food, and that is fine. I want to share, I forgot to tell you this morning, and the rest of my story about my mother. My mother had a history of headaches for over a year. And my dad kept saying, would you go to the doctor, figure out what's wrong? She went to her family physician 1 week before she died. Her diagnosis, high blood pressure. Given a prescription for a blood pressure medication that my dad found in her purse after she died. She never took it. So again, it's the behavior piece. Unless crisis happens or your emotions get raised, people don't normally change. So again, story is super powerful. Evidence plus emotion gets people to change. So please think about if you are working with people on behavioral change, how can you blend in story? Story that's powerful and emotional that'll get people to change. So, it's time to face your true story and rewrite a new one. Let me ask you a question. How many of you are totally happy with where you are at with your own self-care right now? I mean, you're like super happy. 1, 2, 3. There's like about 5 hands that went up. That's it. There's always room for improvement, right? But this is the reflective part of this workshop. Jim Lair, I'm going to tell you a funny story. About 20 years ago, my associate dean for academics at Arizona State said, I ran into this vice president from Johnson & Johnson Corporation. They have a wellness company called the Human Performance Institute. They don't have that company anymore. They dissolved it. But he said they teach a course called Corporate Athlete. And Dave said, you and me, we need to go to that course. I said, Dave, I already know a lot about this whole health and wellness space. I'm not sure if I want to go to a 2.5-day workshop. He said, please, let's go. I said, okay, I will. We go to San Francisco, because that's where they were doing the 2.5-day course. We show up the first day. They had us go down to the basement where there was a body pot place. They came out with 2 bathing suits, a bikini for me and a Speedo for Dave. And Dave laughs because he says, I was living large then. Like, I'm not putting that on. I said, I haven't put on a bikini since I had my daughters. Like, I don't feel comfortable with this. And they said, come on, guys, be a good sport. Put these on. We're going to put you in a body pod, and we're going to measure your percent body fat. But think about this. Talk about what a way to face your true story that day. It was really powerful. But Jim Lair, he's written books on the power of story. He was actually one of my teachers. After the workshop, after I did some of the reflection I'm going to ask you to do today, I went back to my room, hotel room, and I cried for probably 2 hours. Why did I cry? Because I faced my true story. I was so passionate and career-driven my whole life that my girls would come home from school. I'd come home from an exhausting day of work. They were trying to tell me about what happened during school, and guess how I would be listening to them? My computer, I wasn't present and mindful in the moment with them. And I sobbed about that because I finally faced that in my life. It was that day that I committed when I'm with my girls. I don't care what's going on. I am going to be present in the moment with them. And I honestly can say that was a turning point in my life. So I have permission to do the Face Your True Story. And Jim, sadly, just passed away. But he has done an amazing job with this power of story and helping people to really change. So let's take a look at this slide. Let's face your true story right now. How many of you have worked more than a 9-hour day? You're laughing. So that tells me, absolutely, I'm there. How many of you have skipped a meal? Okay. How many of you have slept less than 7 hours? Look at this, like almost this whole room skipped preventive screenings because you're too busy. So I refired, I told you all this, from Ohio State to pursue some big last dreams that I have. 3 days after I refired last January, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The good news is I was diagnosed early, but it came after our oldest adoptive daughter was diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer and went through 18 months of treatment, 2 rounds of chemo, a mastectomy, radiation for 6 weeks. I thought my husband was going to lose it because Megan finished her treatment in December of 24, and I was diagnosed mid-January 25 last year. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because I had a nurse practitioner as a primary care provider. Dusty kept nagging me because I was a couple months over on getting my mammogram that time. And I kept saying, Dusty, I'm going to do it. No, Bern, you need to do it now. she would call me, have her nurse call me like twice a week until she saw my results. So I am telling you, if you have been putting off preventive screenings, screenings save lives. We're in an era where 1 out of 7 to 8 women get breast cancer, and it's happening at earlier ages. So if you're 40 and if you haven't gotten a mammogram yet, please get it. If you are 40 and you haven't gotten it every 2 years, please start getting them. I was blessed because they got mine early. I kissed cancer goodbye last May, and Megan's PET scan was clean last month. So it's all good. But if you're staring up at this, like how many of you work on vacation? People laugh on that. I have a good story about that too. How many of you are overtime on vacation hours? The leaders at Ohio State, including our presidents, would hear about that from me all the time. I'd be like, Michael, you need to take your vacation and you need to show people you're getting away because your role modeling counts a whole bunch. So with that, I'm going to ask you to think about what you've been doing, what you haven't been doing for your own health and self-care. And if you keep doing or not doing what you should be doing, what are the last 10 years of your life going to look like? Can you play the video, please?
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
That is a really powerful clip. In fact, my nurse practitioner students would take that clip into their primary care settings when they were trying to work with their patients on behavior change and show it to people. And people were really impacted by that clip. So you have a packet in front of you, a workshop packet. I want you to do these exercises right now. I'm going to have you face where you are into aligning your values and energy and engagement. So the first thing I want you to do is rate how important those categories are to you. Your job, your health, your happiness, your family, your friends, and what other area you choose. And then I want you to be honest with yourself. What's your energy level that you give to that area? And then you're going to figure out your gap score. So for instance, if you rate your job as a 6, but you give it 10, your energy, that's a gap score of 4. If you say my family is a 10 in terms of importance, but you only give it a 5 in your energy level, that's a gap score of 5. So I want you to take a minute or two and complete that chart. Then, following that in your packet is a life engagement audit. All I want you to do is rate yourself on how engaged you are with each of those categories. On the following page, there's 4 categories: spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional. This is going to help you face your true story in each of those particular categories. In terms of your spiritual life, do you lack passion in certain areas of your life? Do you not put yourself on the line for what you believe, and so on? So just take a couple of minutes and complete these 2 pages. Okay, everybody, time up. If you did not finish the exercise, please do it. Please do it. Don't leave it. It's really important for facing your true story. So let me ask you, what is the number one reason you don't have time to take better self-care? Somebody tell me. Competing priorities. Bingo. What else? Time, right? So as Chief Wellness Officer for Ohio State, that was the most frequent response. Bern, I don't have time. Well, I'm going to show you a video that's going to make you think about that number one excuse. So would you please play that?
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's 1 jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities, like chores and tending to our pets and shopping, will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities, and another 720 days will go to community activities like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
Again, that's powerful. So I want you to answer these questions about your health and well-being story. Just to yourself, reflect on this from the slide. What kind of priority have you placed on your health and well-being? From 0, nothing at all, to 10, a lot. How are you doing with your self-care on a scale from 0 to 10? If you continue your current habits or not do the things that will result in better health and well-being, what are going to be the consequences to that? And if you are not taking good self-care and engaging in behaviors that you know will be good for your physical and mental health, what story are you telling yourself that is allowing you to continue down that path? Because I guarantee you, you are telling yourself some story. There's a lot of faulty assumptions that we make in these categories. So let's take a look at some of them. Are you telling yourself some of these things? Most of my problems in life stem directly from work. The only way I can meet the demands of my job is to work longer and harder. That is a really common faulty assumption. If I get the promotion and salary increase, I'll be happier and feel better about myself. Those are very common faulty assumptions and stories we tell ourselves to keep doing what we're doing. About your health, people say, oh, I feel good, so my health is okay. I don't have to do that now. When I get older, I'll start doing it. I'm still young, so I can get away with doing these things. I have no time or energy to exercise. That's why we don't have energy, because we don't exercise. We don't move more and sit less. I devote what little time and energy I have to the areas of my life that matter most: my family and my job. Then we tell ourselves stories about our family, about our marriage, about our relationships. It's okay with my family when I come home from work exhausted and disengaged, because they appreciate all that I do for them at work. I'm not sure if some of these resonate with you, but I will tell you, I've done a lot of these workshops where people come up to me after and say, oh my gosh, Bern, it was like you knew my life and the things I tell myself about happiness. I can't be happy and be under so much constant stress. No one in my situation could find happiness. My happiness will come when I'm financially free. But again, you all have stories going on in your head that may be preventing you from being healthier mentally or physically. And really, it's important to face those true stories, because without facing them, change isn't going to happen. This is an example of a true story. I've collected so many of these. Names will always remain anonymous, but this is a true story. The truth is that I have not paid enough attention to my health. I made a passive decision to let that part of my life go and to focus only on work and my other commitments while believing that I was doing it all for my future and the good of my family. If I continue down this path and I don't change, my health will continue to be on a downhill slide. I won't have the energy or joy for life that I know can be there if I pay more attention to taking better care of myself. Health and well-being is important to me because I want to be healthy and around for my families and the others I care about till my old age. From now on, I promise myself that I will take the steps I need to live a healthier life, have more energy, and be at peace with myself and my story. So here's an example of a true story from another person, a physician. She said, as a physician in a busy practice and a single mom of an 8-year-old little girl, I have no balance in my life to prioritize my own self-care. My daughter's needs absolutely come first. I have to work my high-stress job to be able to pay all of my bills. I'm exhausted, fatigued, and worried 24/7. I used to enjoy exercising at the gym. It helped me relieve my stress. But there is no way that I can ever get back to going to the gym even one day a week. I'm all right with this situation for now because the bills need to be paid. But I realize if I don't do something different soon, I'm going to totally burn out. It won't be good for my daughter and my own health. So, what is your true health and well-being story? I want you to take a minute now to write a draft of that story. So on your next page, you're still facing the truth. You're answering those questions that I just showed on the slide, but then you're writing your true story. Okay, I'll give you a few minutes to do that. Okay, hopefully you have faced something about your true story. Now it's going to be time to take a few minutes and write your new story about your health and well-being. Here's an example. As a single working mom, so this is Leslie's news story, the physician, I am delighted to say that I am able to have harmony between my work and parenthood. No matter how full my plate is with work and other commitments, I've learned to prioritize my own self-care as I finally realize that if I don't take good care of myself now, I won't be able to take great care of my daughter and my patients. I find time to go to the gym and exercise 3 days a week, as well as meet with my good friend for a cup of tea at least once a week. Because I participate in things that relieve my stress and bring me joy, I'm able to fully enjoy time with my daughter, to do activities that we delight in together. I wake up with energy, enthusiastic to start my days. So this is the vision of what you would like to see for yourself in your health and well-being new story. So take a few minutes to jot down the changed vision of what you would like to see going forward. Okay, the next part of your packet is about your happiness story. I want you to complete your true and new happiness story sometime in the next day or two. To really sit down, to really answer, how would you rate your level of happiness over the past 3 months on a scale of 0 to 10? What people or activities have brought you joy in the past 30 days? And if your happiness is not where you'd like it to be, what story are you telling yourself that explains why it's not happening at this time in your life? So again, I can't tell you how important it will be for you to reflect on that happiness story, face that true story, and write a new one. Okay, I asked you this question before, but there is a place for you to write it down in your packet on crystallizing your dream. What are you going to do in the next 5 to 10 years If you absolutely know, there's no failure. None at all. Dream big. Think big. But write it down. I'm not going to ask you to share what you write down, but I want you to take a minute and write it down. I'll tell you a story. One of my closest friends and colleagues came to Arizona State for our 5-day evidence-based practice intensive workshop. And what she wrote down was, one day I want to work closely with Bernadette Melnyk. Last year, we started a new company together called EBP Solutions. But you got to write these dreams down. Again, evidence shows you write them down, put them by your computer or where you brush your teeth, because evidence exists that shows people who write their dreams down have a much higher probability of achieving them. So take just 30 seconds now if you haven't written something down, and write it down, please, your dream. What are you going to do if you know you cannot fail? Shoot for the moon. My favorite motivational speaker, Les Brown, said shoot for the moon because even if you miss, you're going to land amongst the stars. Les Brown, true story, was labeled educably mentally retarded. He went through school believing that because everybody told him that's what he was. At graduation from high school, a commencement speaker looked right in his eyes because he was sitting in the front row and said, "Don't you ever let anybody tell you what you can or can't accomplish in this life." He became one of the world's best motivational speakers. I've heard him like 3 times. I watch his stuff over and over again. He's amazing. But he grew up believing he was special needs and he'd never amount to anything much. And I am telling you, if a girl from poor little coal mining town, Republic, Pennsylvania, could accomplish and make the impact that I have made throughout my career and life, any of you can accomplish your dreams. But you got to dream it, and then you got to risk take. Take risks. So if somebody tells you you're crazy, somebody shuts the door in your face, so what? I always say success is going from one failure to the next with enthusiasm. Get happy. Say to yourself, I'm one step closer to a yes. If you knew how many times I got looked at like I had 3 heads because I pitch really big dreams. I mean, people have laughed at me. That'll never happen. Now when people say those things to me, I just smile at them and I just say, we'll see. And I just say, I'm on the right track and I keep going. And that's what we got to do for each other. I'm tired of hearing the saying, nurses eat their young, instead of nurses support their young. We need to support each other to accomplish those dreams. So seriously, there is a magic in thinking big, and I don't want you to leave today unless you write that dream down. If you don't know where you're going to end up someplace else. You've got to know, and you got to keep your dreams bigger than your fears and your uncertainties, and persist through the character builders until you accomplish the dream. I don't have a bad day, I have a character building day, and it really helps me refrain what I'm going through. But the dream, you got to stay focused on it, and you got to focus. So let me show you another video. These 4 NFL football players came to the Human Performance Institute in Florida to go through that course I told you about that I went through. The psychologist said to them, I'm going to give you a task to do. I want you to run through the woods for a mile, and there's going to be a white fence at the mile marker. All I want you to do is touch the white fence and run back. And these guys, they're like, that's it? Do you know what we got to do to train for football? You just want us to go a mile through the woods and touch a white fence? Yep. But the psychologist said, wait a minute, I got to warn you. There's sometimes water moccasins that come across your path, and they can be a little dangerous. And the guys all laughed. Yeah, right. And the psychologist said, now wait a minute. Sometimes there's gators in these woods, so you better be really careful. They laughed again. Psychologist says, oh, and the worst, there are 300-pound wild boars that sometime come across your path, and they are mean and nasty. And the guys laughed. So watch what happens as they are nearing the white fence, and there's somebody in the bush that plays a wild boar hog sound. Will you please play? So these guys, they didn't finish the task. They were not focused in the least. They thought it was a big joke. After this group, another 4 law enforcement officers went through the same task. They did great. They heard the wild boar noise. They looked around, didn't see the wild boar, finished touching the white fence. Make sure you get a big dream, you risk take, you remain focused until you touch that white fence and have your dream come to fruition. So the other thing I want you to work on in the next day or two, and please finish this assignment because it's super important to your happiness, to your engagement, to your fulfillment. After you get the dream, because dreams drive purpose and passion. Purpose drives engagement, the energy you invest in what you're doing, and it also gives you motivation. And so I want you to be reflecting on it in the next day or two, but write it down. Who or what matters most to you? How do you define sex? Oh, I said sex in your life. Now, I got another story for you. I think I have an issue with that word, and here's why. I was doing a commencement speech for a college in upstate New York a few years ago. It was one of the best motivational speeches I ever get. It was about success. And I went to say at the end, I'm thinking, oh, this feels so good. I really did a good job. The president was there. The provost, the faculty, all the students, their parents. I said, now remember, the secret of sex is. It was one of the most embarrassing public speaking glitches I have ever made. And the faculty presented me with the video after of that blunder, and it said, Dr. Bern Melnyk, sex expert. So I swear, I have imprinted, and every time I see success, I have a flashback to that blunder. It happens. I'm human. It's okay. But reflect on, what impact do you want to have on others? How do you want other people to describe you? If they had just 2 words to describe you, what would you want those words to be? And then what makes your life really worth living? But how often do you connect your energy investments to your dreams, your purpose, your passion? What's taking you off course? I want you to think about, what are your wild boars that are pulling you back, that are undermining you from making progress to accomplishing your dreams, your purpose, your passion, your goals? How are you going to get back on track again? So please, finish reflecting in that work packet. It's really important. And again, if you take it seriously, you will have the outcomes, positive ones, from doing that. So now we're going to talk about evidence-based strategies to thrive and enhance personal well-being. My secret for not sex, but success, is the 3 Ds. The ability to dream big, to discover, that's all about risk-taking, and then to persist through the character builders to deliver the dreams. We talked about behaviors. They are really our number 1 killer. If I could get all of you, your students, your families, your patients, to just do these things, we would have 80% less of chronic disease. 30 minutes of physical activity, 5 days a week. You might say, Bern, you're nuts. I could never do that. I don't have the time. Yes, you do. Cut your meetings from 60 minutes to 50 minutes. Our leaders did that at Ohio State. They got really serious about that. I told my faculty no meetings until 11 a.m. on Monday, because everybody'd be stressed doing emails Sundays and prep to come back on Monday. And no meetings on Fridays, so you can focus on your scholarship. I had one tenured professor call me and say, Bern, please, don't take meetings away on Fridays. It's our promotion and tenure meeting. Like, we have to have that on Friday. I said, Barb, I'm sorry. No meetings on Friday. People cheered. They were so excited. And I will tell you, one of the worst mistakes as faculty you can make for your own scholarship is not to block sacred time on your calendars for your own scholarship. And on those days that you block, you don't open email. Students will live if they don't get a response in 24 hours. I'll tell you another important point. When you start your course, explain to your students, your faculty, there's an expectation for scholarship, but it's a passion of yours. And these days are blocked, and you will not be answering emails on these days. And if there is a serious situation going on, here's my phone number. I have done that for years. As a dean, as a vice president at Ohio State, I taught, but I was sacred about my days for my research and scholarship. And you've got to be too. Super important. Look at this research. A decrease of meetings by 40% leads to an increase in productivity by 70%. Get rid of stupid stuff. Get rid of stupid stuff. Healthy eating. At least 5 fruits and veggies a day. Don't smoke. Everybody gets happy with this alcohol. I always tell people, if you don't drink alcohol now, don't start. Less is better. There's a lot of research coming out about alcohol highly associated with several cancers. But if you drink alcohol, the recommendation still is 1 standard drink a day for women, 2 a day for men. Then everybody asks me, how big can that drink be? And I tell everybody, not the size of the alcoholic beverages we get in Vegas. Add 7 hours of sleep to that and daily stress reduction strategies, you will prevent chronic disease by 80%. So take a look at this slide. It's a real fitness facility. Guess in what state? California. You have a choice. You can either walk the steps or take the escalator to go work out at the gym. 2 psychologists wanted a study on an average day during a week. How many people would choose the steps to walk up, to work out, instead of the escalator? What they found, 2 people a day. That's it. So when you're faced with choices, make the healthier one. There's a saying, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it's hard. Now, if you only exercise 10 minutes twice a week, don't leave this workshop and say, I'm going to do 30 minutes 5 days a week. You're going to fall off the wagon quick. Increase it to 15 minutes twice a week. Then go to 20. Then add a day. But it takes 30 to 66 days on average to make or break a new goal. Well, there's a growing number of centenarians in our country. Do you want to live to be 100? I would if I was a healthy 100 and I was still mentally with it. But the secret from the Blue Zones, Dan Buettner traveled the world doing research and looking at the centenarians. Like, what did they do that they could live to be 100 and be mentally and physically well? Well, he found out they made movement a part of their day. They knew their sense of purpose. They prioritized stress relief. They ate until they were about 80% full. They ate a largely plant-based diet. They did drink, mainly red wine, in moderation. They connected with their community. They put their family first, and they associated with other people that supported their healthy behaviors. So remember, we develop from the bottom up, but we become extraordinary from the top down. Really important. So face your true story. How much energy do you have on a day-to-day basis? What would you do with more energy? When I was younger and less wise, I couldn't read enough time management books. Like, if I only had just like 2 more hours a day, then I would do these things. And then I went to that corporate athlete course, and I learned I don't need more time. I need more energy with the time that I have. And my faculty said, please don't get any more energy because you have way, way too much. But how do we boost energy? We sit less and we move more. That's the key. Sitting is the biggest zapper of your energy. If you insist on sitting, you should be getting up and moving every 45 to 50 minutes. Our bodies were meant to move. Water, so important. Water. Even if you get a little dehydrated, one of the first symptoms for you is going to be fatigue and loss of energy. So you got to make drinking water and a lot of it part of your day. Sleep, there's this old misperception. The older you get, the less sleep you need. That couldn't be farther from the research. We need 7 to 9 hours a night. When we don't get 7, all this cortisol flushes out in the body. And we know the dangers of cortisol. And then movement. We need to move 150 minutes a week. Today, my husband said to me first thing when I got, "You gonna take the day off from your 2.5 to 3 miles walking?" "No, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna walk." I didn't feel like it, but I did it anyway. That's behavioral activation. Do it even if you don't feel like it, because you'll feel better after you do it. And today I had a walk in the gym at the hotel, and it was 82 degrees in that gym. But I did it. It's part of a habit with me. And I had to do it as CWO because I had to role model what I was preaching. The new dietary guidelines, as you all know, are out now. But I think what's most important, remember, fill your plate, half of your plate, with fruits and veggies, more veggies than fruits. But you want to get some good lean protein, and you want to get some whole grains. You want to be smart about what you put on your plate. And I like to adhere to the 80-20 rule. 80% need healthy foods, but 20% want foods, I call them. Because if you like sweets and somebody comes and says to you, "You can have no more sweets anymore," what are you going to do? You're going to crave them even more. So don't do that. Remember the 80-20 rule. In terms of exercise, my kinesiology experts up here, I'm going to call one of you up here, please, with me. But we need aerobic activity. We got to get the heart rate up a little. But we need that resistance, especially as we get older in age, because we lose body mass. And I will tell you, the resistance band you got today, put it where you work so that every couple hours, do some resistance band exercises. If you like to watch TV, stand and do some resistance exercises, or sit down and do some resistance exercises. But resistance 2 to 3 days a week is super important. It builds muscle. It increases metabolism. It is super important, as well as flexibility. So would all of you get up, please? And one of the kinesiology folks, can you come up here with me, please? Okay. What's your first name? Greg. It's so nice to meet you. And you probably have this down pat, right? Yeah. So, okay, everybody, stand up. What I want you to do first, we're just going to row to get you moving, okay? So, we're going to do this. Just nice big rows with the stretch, with the exercise band. Nice big rows. Now, these resistance bands are easy bands. If you want to up your game, there are more difficult bands, so you can make progress. We're going to do a biceps curl now, okay? So I want you to put your foot, your right foot, on the band. Wrap it around your hand, and then 12 biceps curls. like this. There you go. Do you feel it? You should feel it. Like, it shouldn't be so easy, but it shouldn't be really painful either. But you can get really good resistance with these bands. And then triceps. So if you put your foot forward, again, band wrapped around your hand, and pull back. That'll work your triceps. And women, as we get older, you really want to do this because that muscle tends to weaken and get really flabby, right? But can you feel it? So Rick, teach us a couple of moves. Or Greg, not Rich, Greg.
Definitely not rich. Let's see. So, what was I doing before?
Can you do something with core? We can do. Okay.
All right, we'll work our deltoids, our shoulders. Step on it with one foot, about halfway, maybe a little bit more, like have a little bit more than halfway on your arms. And then you're going to just lift your arms straight out to the side. And then we'll switch sides in a couple seconds here. I'll put the mic down. I don't know, someone give me another idea here. Okay. So like, yeah, what is that? Like an upright row, except, yeah, so. No, you went straight up.
I have a bunch of experts over here. So I think you should do a weekly resistance band workout in the college. I think that, thank you. That would be fantastic. But you can go to YouTube. Let's give Greg active applause. Thank you, Greg. You can get on YouTube and just put in resistance band exercises. There's a ton of great exercise programming on there. But don't just look at this. Pick it up and use it. This is great to travel with. I have one in my suitcase all the time that I travel with. I have one by my TV. I have one at my desk. You've got to make it easy for you to pick it up and to use it. Sleep is so important. And I will tell you, if you have a computer in your bed, it's not contributing to sleep, truly. If you have difficulty sleeping, white or pink noise machines are fantastic. But again, you want to limit daytime naps to no more than 30 minutes because there's evidence behind that. And pay attention to how much caffeine you're putting in your body. I know the recent evidence on coffee is great, But again, if you drink it too close to bed, you're probably going to have sleepless nights. Get your recommended screenings, both men and women. I had the blessing of serving on the United States Preventive Services Task Force for 4 years. Amazing experience. But that group of experts does all the critical appraisal, review, synthesis of evidence that our recommendations are based on. So I want to talk about mental health. We all need to learn, and our students, mindfulness skills, cognitive behavior therapy-based skills. Those skills are recommended first line for depression and anxiety. But most people don't get these skills. That's why I developed my COPE program. So non-psychiatric mental health providers could deliver these CBT skills for everybody to benefit from. In CBT, in my COPE, Mind, Body, Strong programs, we teach people how you think impacts how you feel and how you behave. I want you all to take a look at these cognitive distortions. Our brains develop these by 9 years of age, and they're set. You know, you get a student, they get a D on an exam, they catastrophize. I got a D, I'm gonna fail this course, I'm gonna fail out of the program. I'll never get a productive job again. Oh, the shoulds. How many of you do shoulds a lot? I should be a better boss. I should be a better teacher. I should be a better parent. Overgeneralization and labeling. You flub up at work, you think, I'm stupid. I can't do anything right. Those automatic negative thoughts affect how we feel and how we behave. If you could teach yourself to do this skill and your students on a regular basis, you would see mood improve like crazy. And it's called catch, check, and change. So the next time you feel angry, stressed, depressed, anxious, I want you to say to yourself, stop. What was just going through my mind? And then check it with these questions. Is this type of thinking helpful? Is it true? Do I have the evidence to back it up? Because the answer most likely is going to be no. So we teach cognitive reappraisal in CBT and my programs. It's like this little boy. He had a dream. He's going to be a professional baseball hitter. Well, look what happens when he goes to the field to practice every day.
I'm the greatest hitter in the world! Strike one. I'm the greatest hitter in the world! Strike two. I'm the greatest hitter in the world! Strike three. Wow. I'm the greatest pitcher in the world. Optimism.
It's great. It's great. But programming our brains with positive is so incredibly important. And in my program, we actually have people write positive thinking statements. Say them 10 times in the morning when you brush your teeth, 10 times at night. In the clinical trial with nurses at risk for suicide that I just finished, the nurses brought up these made such a difference to them and their mood and their worry and their anxiety. I mean, to get up every day, I'm calm, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm confident. The brain processes what we say. If we could get all of us and our students to get up every day and do what this little girl does, what a better world we would have. Please play.
Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my mom. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone. Now.
If you have not done that, try it. Try it. Have your students try it. Reword what we say makes such a difference. Like, I have to go to work today. I have to do this. No, I get to go to work today. Isn't that great? So what we say, our brains process. If we could get everybody to wake up every morning, read 5 minutes in a positive book, or listen to a positive podcast, what a different world we would have. So I want to ask you all, do you go to the bathroom shortly after you get up in the morning? This is yes, this is no. Okay, I'm seeing everybody nodding their head yes. You have time to read because you go to the bathroom. You put a positive book near your toilet. You sit down, you pick up the book, you start reading. Good stuff going in, not such great stuff coming out. But you set positivity for the day. It is so very important. We all need to practice grounding, to teach our students how to ground when they're anxious, stressed, and upset. This is one of the best grounding activities that has research behind it. When you're stressed to the hilt, turn your head to the left, move it slowly to the right, find 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 things you can taste, and 1 you can smell. We have researched this cuts off the sympathetic nervous system. But changing negative to positive thinking, it's just like behavior change. It takes 30 to 60 days. And even if you don't feel like doing some of this stuff, do it anyway. We've got to build resiliency skills proactively and preventatively. Think about everything you teach in your curriculum. We teach students how to look for every zebra known to man. We teach them things they'll probably never see. But we don't integrate wellness evidence-based programming into their curricula. We did at Ohio State. If you make it optional, even if something looks really good, students aren't probably going to take it because they're overwhelmed with their core coursework. You got to remember to take and give a dose of vitamin G every day. I had my nurse practitioners write prescriptions for vitamin G to their patients. And their patients like, what are you advising me to do? Take and give a dose of vitamin G. Let me tell you about gratitude. The other thing, deep breathing, we don't use it enough. 4, 7, 8. Breathe in slowly, count to 4, hold it for 7, blow it out slowly for a count of 8. It works great. And to boost mental energy, multitasking. I used to pride myself. That's one of my strengths. I can do 5 things at the same time. And then I went to this course, and the teacher said multitasking is the enemy of full engagement. You got to stop doing that. Burnout. We know what it feels like. How many people in here have never experienced burnout? Never. Okay, fabulous. But you're like 2 people in the room. I say that's great because you're probably aligned with your dreams, your purpose, passion. It's awesome. But the majority of people experience this chronic state, exhaustion. You know how when you can tell a person's getting burnout, they get cynical or they get irritable. It's a classic sign of burnout. So face your true story. This is a 1-item valid scale. I use this in my national studies. I want you to be honest with yourself right now. Based on your definition, how would you rate your level of burnout right now? And if you said 1 or 2, I applaud you. I say you're probably taking good self-care, you're probably aligned with your dreams, your purpose, your passions. But if you're a 3, 4, or 5, I want to raise a red flag in front of you today. You got to face that true story, and you got to do something different. Because if not, you're going to continue down a black hole. When I was CWO at Ohio State during the pandemic, I had huge responsibilities. I had to determine screening, this, that. I had to turn all our programming to virtual. I was working again, like 15-hour days. I kid you not, 7 days a week. I came home one day. My husband asked me a tiny little benign question, and I nearly bit his head off. And thank heaven for John, because he looked at me right in the face and he said, Bern, I'm going to tell you the same thing you advise everybody else. You better face your true story. You are burning out, if not burnout. What are you going to do about it? And I thought for a minute and I said, John, I appreciate you're making me face that. You're right. I need to get away for 10 days, like far away. Close the computer, no emails. I don't want to hear from any of my teams. They're capable of handling even a burning building. I need a mental recovery break. So he said, Bern, which of our bucket list trips do you want to take? And I thought for a minute, and I said, I know exactly where I want to go. I want to go far away to Tanzania and watch the wildebeest migrate for 10 days. He said, during the COVID-19 pandemic, you want to do this? I said, I've already researched. The safaris are half off. It's open Jeep. It's going to be fine. We went. Look at the photos that I got. Those are the photos that I took. It was amazing. But we got to realize when we pick our teams well, we as leaders, we can get away. As faculty, we can get away and not do emails and tell our teams, you matter, I believe in you because I trust you. I'm getting away 10 days. I will not be accessible. And it was one of the best things I ever did. Because while I was in Tanzania, I made a commitment. I will never let myself get to that place again. So if our students, if we need help and you see somebody struggling, just say 4 little words. Are you okay today? Are you, not just are you okay? Are you okay today? Did you know it's okay not to be okay at some times in our life? I've been there. But recognizing when we need help is a strength. It's not a weakness. Mental health stigma is alive and well. And we gotta help our students do the same thing that I've asked you to do today. What can they do if they know they can't fail? They've gotta get a dream. They've gotta have purpose and passion because it's worth 7 extra years of our life. Walt Disney was in his 50s and he was bankrupt when he went all around the country, drew a picture of Mickey Mouse and put his dream out there to bankers and investors to give him the money when he's bankrupt to start Disney. People laughed at him. They called him mentally ill. He didn't listen. He kept going. He finally found a couple of investors who invested in his dream. He died before the full build out. And at his funeral, supposedly, a reporter said to his brother, too bad, Walt hasn't gotten a chance to see his dream come true. His brother said to the reporter, quite the contrary. Walt has seen his dream for many years. That's the real power of a dream. For 10 years, I took a flight to New York City to pitch my dream of a National Institute for Evidence-Based Practice to the Helene Fold Health Trust. I met with the trustee the first time. She said, I can see you're so passionate about this, but Bern, we only give to student scholarships. I said, I'll take $1 million for my Sun Devil students. She ended up giving me that money. I'd go back every year, vitamin G, thanking her over and over again, telling her student stories, and then I'd pitch my dream again. When I moved to Ohio State, I did the same thing. That was in year like 6. She said, Bern, I've told you we only mainly fund student scholarships. Okay, Marianne, I'll take $1 million for my Buckeye students. She gave me $1 million. I kept flying back, dream in front of me, flying back. 10th year, the year she retired, I pitched the dream again. Light bulbs finally went on in her brain, and she said, Bern, I think I finally get it. Why this is needed. How much money do you need to get this institute launched? I looked, I knew all the data about the foundation. Their largest gift they ever gave was $6 million. I'm competitive. I said $6.5 million. She said, Bern, I think we can do that. And in 2016, I got $6.5 million to launch the National Institute for Evidence-Based Practice at Ohio State. And that photo that you see up there, the little bunny in front of the huge bundle of carrots, I used to always tell people, dream big, but take one bite of the dark chocolate elephant at a time. But now I have a healthier version. An artist, when I was dean at Arizona State, I used to do a yearly art exhibit where I used to get young artists that used to bring their paintings. We sold them. Half went to the artists, half went to our nurse practitioner managed health centers. This one year, I walked in the door, faculty and students said, Bern, an artist made a painting just for you. You gotta go see it and buy it. Came across that painting. That painting was this big. That's it. But of course I said, I gotta buy that, right? Renee, how much would you have paid for that? It's this big. What do you think? How much would you have paid? It's a painting, a little painting this big. 100. Do I hear 150 or 200? Okay. I took that painting off the wall. You know what the price was? $600. After sticker shock, my eyes got big and I said to people, wow, that artist had a really big dream when she put that amount of money on the painting. But I bought it, got the copyright from her, and for 20 years told that story, told the 3 Ds to all my students and faculty, and everybody got that as a poster. And I will tell you, you don't know what you say when you say it, and the ripple effect it's going to have. I just had an alum of mine contact me recently who had that poster framed. He got his first teaching job, just like Brian has his job here, right? He said, Bern, I had to show you a photo. This is in my faculty office. And every day I looked at that photo and remembered your story and how important it is to keep dreaming, discovering, and delivering. We're never too old, guys, right? We are never too old. This is a guy who was 105 years of age who accomplished his dream of getting his degree. Thomas Edison said, at least I found 900 ways. It doesn't work. When his associate said, you failed 9,000 times. You gotta persist. And if you haven't read this book, Atomic Habits, it's a really good book. And it talks about behavior change 4 steps. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. So what one small change are you gonna make leaving here in the next 30 to 60 days? Because if you don't do something, research shows people leave a seminar or a conference, if they don't do something in 90 days, guess what happens? It all goes. Nothing changes. So I encourage you, complete that work packet. Absolutely join my 155 challenge. Be great if this whole university did it like we did. 1 minute of vitamin G when you get up in the morning. 5 minutes of reading a positive book or listening to a positive podcast, and 5 minutes of movement. You are worth 11 minutes a day for your health and your self-care. Can you pull up the very last slides, please? I don't know what I did. I kind of did some culture thing throughout this whole talk, but in your packet, you've got one final challenge. Before you leave today, I want you to say what you're going to do. My main reason, even when I don't feel like it, remember, I didn't have a mother to see me graduate from high school, college, go on to have this beautiful family. My 3 daughters, my 2 character-building pugs, my 4 grandchildren. So there are days I get up. I don't feel like going on my 3-mile walk, but I do it anyway. I do it for them. So if you don't do it for yourself, when you don't feel like it, put the people who love you in front of you and make a commitment. You're going to do it for them. And if I could not motivate you enough, seriously, and I thought the little girl was here, but she isn't. I just want you to do it, really. I'm going to give you the PDF of all my handouts. The last handout is some strategies for culture, continued strategies for culture change. Look at it, and as a group of faculty, decide, what are you going to implement in the next 30 to 60 days from this workshop? Don't let it be like another workshop that you make no personal change and you make no culture change as a result. There's always room for growth and improvement. Well, I absolutely love being with all of you today. Keep dreaming, discovering, and delivering. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Melnyk. We so appreciate your time that you spent with us and the inspiration that she brought to us, the challenges she brought to us, the things that you're going to implement, I'm sure, within the next couple weeks. I also encourage you to finish those packets. We always have the, I don't know if it's a gift or whatever, but something to remind us about our start and launch of the semester. And so we got the little succulents, and it's kind of fun to see which type of succulent you all picked. I think we have some more over on the table if you didn't get one. But I really want you to put this in your office, whether it's your office on campus, your office at home, something where we are going to, to remind you that we are going to really focus this year on this culture change and what it looks like for us to thrive, to flourish, for us as faculty and staff to be doing that, and then imparting and modeling this for our students. Bern showed us data after data of the mental health and some of the challenges that our students are facing. But not only are they facing when they're students, they're facing into the work environments that they go into. And so it's so important that we're building a culture of wellness, but then imparting that as they go out to become difference makers. So in our meetings this year, we'll be talking about different strategies, how we can do this, looking at some interventions, and even some of our co-curricular activities that we do with our students to really focus on this. One of the challenges that just in closing for me is this idea of Sabbath rest. We lead very busy lives, and we're the college that teaches year-round and continues to. We have close to 2,700 students enrolled this fall in that's going to start next week. So congratulations. I know all the work that the staff has done and you as faculty and the new students that will be entering in. But God called us to rest, right? He said, and on the seventh day, he rested in the creation story. So everybody's going to look different, what a Sabbath rest means for you. But I really encourage us to lean into what Bern challenged us to do today and what we can do as individuals so that we are continuing to fill ourselves so that we can then serve others. So just in closing, I think the tumbling practice is going to start behind us pretty soon, but I would love to get a group picture because we forgot to do that at the retreat. So if you guys could all come up to the front here, front of the stage, we'd love to get a quick college picture. And Bern, again, thank you so much for being with us. And to all of you, blessings on a great academic year. Thank you so much.